Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Hope you're all having a nice day this morning. Starting off right. In order to get us starting off right, we do usually have a few words of inspiration. And our provider of that today is Carol Halstead. It's all you, Carol.
Good morning. I am thankful to be able to join you. I appreciate all your thoughts and prayers and offers of assistance while I'm going through my treatment for lymphoma. And I am not a big fan of winter weather. However, our heart goes out to those people that live in the hurricane areas, and their lives have just been turned upside down. So let's remember those in our prayers today. And I saw this quote, I'm not sure the author, but it says, seeing the next day is always the biggest blessing, which when you're going through illness like me, that very much applies. And hope everyone enjoys their day.
Thank you, Carol. I second that. Pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. One announcement that I'm aware of, next week we'll be online, so we will not be here in person. They have some other activity going on, so it should just be for 1 week. So everybody will be joining via Zoom. That'll be a little different for everybody here. I guess you have to have breakfast at home. Our Toastmaster today is Len. Len, give him a round of applause, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome today. The theme is what to wear. My name is Len and I'm a clothesaholic. Apparently, I've never developed the skill of throwing out a piece of apparel. But we'll get more into that momentarily. Let me now introduce our role holders today. We heard our inspiration. Our word master today stepping in is Mike Licata. Mike, what's our word for today?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. Our word this morning will be apparel. The simplest definition is clothing or an article of clothing. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mike. My apparel today is a jacket which was given to me. It's the 104th US Open at Shinnecock Hills. Don't know where that is. It's a cool golf jacket. I do wear this occasionally. I do like that it's jacket season and I have pockets. Pockets are a wonderful thing. They're even putting pockets in wedding gowns now for the ladies, and they're marking that as a huge achievement for women everywhere. Next, we have our grammarian / counter. Performing that duty today is Mike Florio.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. I guess before I get started, I just wanted to say apparel. I have a kind of a t-shirt problem with all the races I run. I collect a lot of t-shirts and my wife tends to throw them away on me, and then I have to sift through the garbage and, oh no, this is really a good one. You can't, I have to keep this one. So it's a little battle that we have, but when you have over, I don't know, close to 100 t-shirts, some of them have to go every once in a while. So anyway, on that note, as a master, I will be listening. I have a dual role today. As master, I'll be counting the ahs, ums, pregnant pauses, and others, and I will report back at the end of the meeting. And then as grammarian, I will be testing myself and my grammatical skills, which will be kind of a tough job for me, but I'll do my best. And then I will report back at the end of the meeting, Mr. Toastmaster. And there he is.
Thank you. Doing double duty today. Our quote master is not online yet, so we'll come back to him, Mr. Ryan Flory. Our jester this morning is David Jones. David, make us laugh.
I thought I was timer this morning. I can try to make you laugh, but am I timer?
Oh, I'm sorry, your timer. I
Yes,
can't-
sir.
Supposed to be my case. Okay, anybody wants to come up with a jest at some point, just kind of yell at me or scream out, and we'll do that. Since you're on screen, David, explain your role as timer.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. And like Mike, I have a apparel problem as well. I have tons of baseball caps that I'm always acquiring. Similar reason. My son-in-law is a college football coach, and he moves every year, every 2 years, and every college he goes to, I get a new college baseball cap. So I have tons of items that I'll never throw away just for nostalgia. But as timer, another part of the apparel, this is supposed to be a green shirt. I wore it so that it would blend in with the timer, but it doesn't blend in, so it's the wrong green. But as timer, I will be doing the green, the yellow, and the red at the appropriate times and report back at the end of the when requested, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, and I'll make sure that your image is highlighted as well for any of our speakers or evaluators or table topics contestants. Now, I chose what to wear because, as I said, I have a problem discarding clothing after a reasonable amount of time. What is reasonable? I did some Google searches, and apparently people now wear an article of clothing from 7 to 10 times on average. And that's way down from 15 years ago. I can't imagine throwing something out that soon. I didn't live through the Depression era, but for some reason I have trouble letting go of perfectly good clothing. It just doesn't seem right to me. I will cut it up and use it as rags in the garage before I'll just toss it in the garbage. So I'm focusing on jackets today. And yes, Mike Florio, I also have a t-shirt problem. That's another speech / Toastmaster presentation. Just focusing on jackets today. Some of them I keep for souvenirs. They remind me of a certain time. Some are commemorative of a job I had. You'll see a few of them today. Not all of them. This room isn't big enough to hold all of them. And believe it or not, I'm studying minimalism and trying to get by with less and less clutter. 1 in 4 US households has a clutter problem, and I'm guilty of that one. Without further ado, we're going to move into our table topics portion of the meeting today. Our topic master, Mr. Gerald Stevens. Gerald, take it away.
Room versus Zoom. Oh, sounds like a competition. And it rhymes as well. This is a challenging topic for me because when it comes to apparel, I need help. I always bring one of my daughters or my wife shopping when it comes to buying clothes. Just like, I need advice. And I don't do a lot of the extra things that a lot of people might do in regards to apparel. We have a few people that are available, I believe, today. And I try to pick a question that seems to fit the individual here. So I have a few people ready for an opportunity to speak. Jackie, are you available? Do you have a lot of accessories such as jewelry, shoes, purses? Do you wear them a lot, or do you continue to buy a lot? Or what is your take on all of that? Jackie?
I am not big on accessories. I don't carry a purse most of the time. Drives my friend crazy because I stick all these things in my pockets and it's not very ladylike. But I'll survive. I think apparel is a great choice of topics. Thank you, Len. We all like to dress nicely. Well, most of us do anyway. But one thing I've noticed about myself in recent years is that I've begun wearing cardigans a lot. And I'm not sure if it's because as I get older, I'm chillier than I used to be, or if it's the Mr. Rogers influence. I'm a great proponent of his little factoids and his way of doing things. So I think it might be more the Mr. Rogers influence. I come in the door at home, take off my coat, put on my cardigan, put my slippers on, and get comfortable for the rest of the day. So I hope all of you are comfortable. And, you know, Gerald, anytime you need help shopping, just let me know. I'll be happy to accompany you. Thank you.
May take you up on that. I do need help in that area. My next question is for, I think Nancy Ferry's available, correct? She is, she says with chagrin. Nancy, do you keep up the fashion trends? What is trendy that you might wear, or you do not care about that at all? Nancy Ferry.
I never know what is trendy. I have my own tastes. I pick them out. If they're not in the store, I find them somewhere else. Or I find them in my closet that I already have, plenty of clothes. I love clothes. One of my problems is I'll go in the store and I find a pair of pants that I love, they're funky color. And then I get home, doesn't go with anything. So then I have to go on a search for something to wear with it. That's a problem because I accumulate way more than I need. And then when I move, which I've done a lot this year, I put bags of clothes together and think, okay, I'm going to let these go. Well, let me sort through them one more time. And the bag gets smaller and smaller with less less and less items in them. And when it comes to jewelry and apparel, I love jewelry, but I love to hang it up in my room. I have several hanging places that I put my jewelry in. I like to look at it. But I always have to be dressed for the season. And fall is my favorite season. So I'm often I have a lot of fall clothes that have that, what colors? Burnt umber and browns, and I have to be seasonal. And I have 3 pair of leaf earrings, which I have to spread out for the season to make sure that they all get worn. And I love my clothes. I love all the apparel that is available in the store, but I don't purchase everything.
Thank you, Nancy. Don't want to neglect our Zoom folks out there, and I do believe I do have at least one, Margot. I didn't pick you first.
5 weeks in a row.
I could have picked someone else in the room here, but I felt someone on Zoom should be included. And this probably would be right up your alley, I think, with apparel. We do have Halloween coming up soon. Do you have a costume ready to go? Do you have some apparel you could just readily grab and just throw on? Because I feel like this is something that is in your wheelhouse. Margot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Table Topics Master. So do I have some apparel I like to wear for Halloween? Well, I do actually have an entire closet full of costumes. When we first opened the winery, I actually collected a number of Victorian outfits. So I have the crinolines and the hats and the gloves and the fancy dresses. So I have a closet full of those. Because we've done so many murder mysteries, I have everything from a little Bo Peep outfit to my Dipsy Gnome outfit, which is blue hair and a blue graduation gown. I have boxes and boxes of hats, but my biggest acquisition later, and I'm sure you're all going to be totally shocked to know this, is my collection of tiaras. I used to have just the big gold one. Well, now I have blue, I have red, I have green. So I have a number of tiaras. So sometimes what I have to do is figure out which dress will go with which tiara. We've done a number of 1920s murder mysteries, so I have a whole collection of 1920s. So what's going to happen on Halloween is I will have to see what the weather's going to be. That evening, our Lions Club has a trunk and treat outside. So you may find me in Bo Peep if it's a nice warm evening. You may find me in one of my crinolines with the long sleeves and the shawl and the hat and everything to bundle up. But thank you for this opportunity to talk about my costume apparel, Mr. Table Topics Master.
I had a feeling that'd be a good one for you, Margot. At this time, could I get a timers report? Mr. Timer, David Jones.
Yes, sir. Jackie came in at 1 minute and 25 seconds. Nancy came in at 1:44 and Margot at 1:40. I believe Jackie qualifies as well with that little buffer. Or does she have to hit 1:30? I'm not sure.
She qualified with the buffer, if I'm correct. So thank you, Mr. Timer. So all of them are available for voting. In regards to time, Mr. Wordmaster, how did our participants do in current the word of the day?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. I am happy to announce that all three of our Table Topics participants used the word. Jackie used it once, Nancy used it once, Mario used it twice, you, Dr. Steven, you yourself used it 3 times. Mike Floro used it once, Len used it once, and David Jones used it once as well.
Yep.
And you can see there is a poll online. Len has put up multitasking today. So take a chance to vote and someone will come around with the basket, probably Sylvia, and get your votes. Turn it back over to our Toastmaster today, Len.
Okay, a little housekeeping here. Our general evaluator this morning is Tracy Farrell. Tracy, will you give me just one moment to highlight you and then explain your duties today?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Sorry for being late. Zoom did me wrong today. So my job today is to evaluate the entire meeting. I will report back at the end of the meeting to especially talk about the evaluators and how they evaluated our speakers. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. And we have a quiz master today as well. Nancy Rose, will you please explain your duties, what you'll be doing today?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and good morning, Toastmasters. Today, I am quiz master, and I will be presenting a quiz at the end of the meeting on the information, and this is to helping you strengthen your listening skills, sharpen your attention span, and stay in the present moment. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. This windbreaker I'm sporting right now dates back to the 80s. Like a time when I used to do a lot of bike treks for the American Lung Association. And this was a fundraising premium I got for raising money for the worthy cause. I don't think I've worn this in at least 10 years. It's clean, it's neat, it's functional. But for some reason, I never grab this when I go out the door. I don't know why I'm keeping it. One of those things. It would be good visibility, yes. Without further ado, let's get into our prepared speech portion of the meeting. Our first speaker today is Mr. David Licata. He's doing a Pathways project in the innovative planning, but I'll let further details come from Les Robinson, who's online. Les, how will you be evaluating David this morning? What you got on YouTube?
Yeah, can you hear me now? I'm having nothing but problems today. Usually I use the phone in the ring with the light. I have the pad. So it is what it is. So Dave is, I've got his speech here. His title is Carl and Joe, the President Pipes of Distill Nation. And basically the purpose of this project is the members to participate to use a story within a speech or a given speech that is a story. So let's all welcome Dave Licata. On his time is 5 to 7 minutes.
Dave Licata, Carl and Joe present Pipes of Distinction.
My first job this morning is to thank our Toastmaster for picking this theme, this topic. Because the gentleman that I'm about to talk about, they certainly did have a lot of clothes and they wore them well. But to bring it back to what I'm wearing, does anybody know how old these sweaters are? I forgot. They're the same age as the shirts, because we were given an option for a shirt and a sweater. And I wisely said, oh, give me both because I have more clothes than my wife. It's a little embarrassing. All right, back to Carl and Joe. Carl's my stepfather. Joe's my uncle. And Joe went through Lockport High. Be interesting to sneak into that vault and find out if he finished. But incredibly nice man, incredibly clever man. There was no flies on Uncle Joe. When the war broke out, Uncle Joe joined the Marines. He was at Iwo Jima and Guadalcanal. He got a Purple Heart. Like all true people of Mediterranean extraction, he was standing in line at the chow line and was hit by a piece of shrapnel. He got $25 a month for that, the rest of his life. That was his recompense for that. Well, his younger brother, Carl, 1943, where's Carl? Oh, he's just hanging out at Lockport High, playing football. Very serious football player. I have 8mm film that I've put on video of my father playing for the semi-pro Lockport Essos, sponsored by the local fuel distributor. And it's hard, once the ball is snapped, it's hard to find him because he's flying into somebody really nasty. I said, boy, good thing I was well behaved. He was a bull. And he was born in May, and it all adds up. So Carl gets a job at Bill Maroney's newsroom on the corner of Walnut and Washburn. Now what this assignment has asked me to do is to stress how to get something done or tell you how something got done
but I have to wrap a story around it. Well, that's not that hard for me. So at the corner of Walnut and Washburn is Bill Maroney's newsroom. It's flush with the sidewalk. My stepfather gets a job there after school. I know for darn sure he would get there after school and after practice. And perhaps he might have even been there early in the morning opening up. That I have to find out. I have to do a little family research. So Bill Maroney goes to the big newsroom in the sky. His son is not that interested in running the store. My father goes home to talk to his Sicilian father, immigrant off the boat, who works at Harrison Radiator, like so many people that we are related to that we know. And said, this is an excellent opportunity. We can buy the store and the building. He's still in high school, folks. So this is what this story is about. It's about luck. But luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So we have this first generation American. He's got siblings. He's got brothers overseas. Larry, Tommy, Joe, Sam. They're fighting in World War II. All's well that ends well. They come home from the war. They all made it back. They come home from the war and they find out that their little brother already owns a store, but he's still in high school. Meanwhile, the coach of Lockport High takes this big senior, the center, played center, captain of the team, runs him down to Syracuse University. Maybe we can get Carol a scholarship. Carol performs some drills in front of the Syracuse coach, tells the Lockport High coach, sure, why not? This young man, I'll give him a scholarship. So he runs back to Lockport, goes in to tell his brother Joe. Meanwhile, his brother Joe had come back from the war, got a job at Newfane Lumber. When my father had the opportunity to buy the store, Joe would work there during the day. My father would work later at night. He said, Joe, I'm going to college. I'm going to play for Syracuse University. And Joe said, no, you're not. Well, what do you mean I'm not? You already own a store. So that's how it all got started. Licata's cigar store. Flush on the corner, meeting the sidewalk, Walnut and Washburn. And when we talk about luck, we talk about location, location, location. Right across from the main plant, full of not only the white collar staff, but a ton of blue collar guys. Oh, what characters. And remember, folks, this was the Mad Men days. So the blue collar guys were never in that much hurry. They would come in and get their cigarettes, their newspaper, their milk, their loaf of bread to take home, but they would dally a bit because they know that the pink collar ladies were coming out of the offices and they didn't want to miss that. But I can't steal too much of Jackie Kenny's story of home finance. So we'll make sure that I don't infringe on hers, but she will back me up on this. It was indeed a hangover from the Mad Men days. Things went pretty smooth when you have 9 siblings, because after Carol, there was Vince, Louis, and Dominic. They all cut their teeth working at the store, got used to business, waiting on people, dealing with people. And then there was a little 6th grader that wandered in about 1962. That was me. So luck met opportunity, and that's how it happened. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster.
This is interesting.
Thank you, David. Well, that was perfect timing for our laptop to cut out. I restarted the session, and once again, you can see the lectern. This jacket I'm sporting here, a quilted windbreaker, no less, I've had since 1992, when I spent a semester in France. Now, I found out kind of last minute I was going to be able to take part in this program, as in 2 weeks before, and I had an important decision to make. Prior to the semester, I could have either spent a week skiing in the Alps or a week in a French language institute learning French. Sadly, I chose the latter, missed out on a great skiing opportunity, but I did still get the jacket, SDN Semaine de Neige, and it's got a nice logo on the back there. Nice jacket, I wear it occasionally. Do I still need it after all these years? That's debatable and the subject of my theme today. Our second speaker today, excuse me, is Jen Zapla. Describing her goals and objectives and introducing her will be Mark Campus. Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Good morning. It is my privilege to be evaluating Jen this morning. She is working on the Strategic Relationships Pathways. This is a level 3 elective to deliver social speeches. This is the first of 2 speeches in that category. The purpose of the project is for the member to practice delivering social speeches in front of club members. Mr. Timer, the time is 3 to 4 minutes. And this speech that Jen is delivering this morning is a eulogy to her dad. So fellow Toastmasters, please join me in welcoming Jen Zapla.
Thank you, Mark. Fellow Toastmasters, my dad could be a very difficult person. He was a complicated person, full of ideas and love, but also full of pain and sadness. My dad had many interests and hobbies which he explored over the years. He was passionate about the outdoors, and he delved into this in many ways. He was a master gardener. He kept a large garden while I was growing up. Many of my cousins may remember the log he kept of how many quarts of strawberries we picked so he could pay us weekly. There were wooded explorations, hunting for mushrooms and fiddlehead ferns. He tried his hand at beekeeping, at keeping chickens, and as an arborist. He was a hunter and a fisherman, or at least a base camp manager who always kept the wood stove going and the beer flowing. Dad had other interests as well. He was always full of crazy ideas, like the time he decided to build a plane. He was an avid space enthusiast, actively following all of the NASA missions and watching each launch. Dad was a card-carrying member of the National Association of Rocketry. Many friends and family members have spent time chasing down rockets in the neighbor's field after a test launch. He attended several conventions over the years. Dad liked to experiment with things and may have been known to blow up a thing or two. Dad was a creator. Over the years, he gave many people the gifts that he made and turned on his lathe. For me, it was a rocking horse, which I still have. And for my sister, it was a dollhouse. He carved ducks and artwork. He started many things that he never finished. He even made our coffee table from his grandmother's Prohibition barrel. My dad cared a lot about the people that he loved. When I graduated from high school, he made me a scrapbook that I still have. It included all of the scraps of paper he had saved over the years with my signature on it, to show how my handwriting had developed, even though it never got that good. It ended with clippings of newspaper advice columns, because one thing that he did more than most was worry. Dad worried about everything, but one thing he worried a lot about was me. Even though I've lived in many states, I've been on my own for decades, up until the last time I saw him, he still called me whenever I left his house to make sure that I got home okay. I'm glad that Dad has left his pain and his worries behind him, but I do hope that his crazy ideas and love will live on in all of us that have been a part of his life. Fellow Toastmasters, I want to thank you for letting me share this eulogy with you. It was the most difficult speech that I've ever had to give. I've learned a lot about death in the last month, but one thing I've learned is that a eulogy isn't really for the person who died, and it's only partly for the person giving it. It's mainly for everyone else, for each audience member trying to understand what happened, to make sense of life and death and our own mortality. It doesn't always make sense, and it's never easy. So fellow Toastmasters, don't forget to go out into the world and live and love with every day that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. My next piece of apparel is the ubiquitous ski jacket. Now, this jacket is paid for itself several times over. I've worn it dozens and dozens of times. I think it's still fairly stylish, pretty clean. I haven't used it in 7 or 8 years. I haven't skied downhill or cross country, sadly. I know, David, I'm going to take you up on your offer one of these days to cross country ski Bond Lake. I will use it again. Actually, I think the last time I used it was probably snow blowing, okay? Because it is a warm jacket, very comfortable. I don't know how long I've had it. I can't see myself parting with this. It is what it is. On to our third speaker this morning, who will be Sylvia Baptiste. Introducing and evaluating Sylvia this morning, Steve Smith. Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Sylvia is doing innovative planning, level 4. How to manage a project. Her time, Mr. Timer, is 5 to 7 minutes. And she will explain how to do this, and her title will make this self-evident. Troop AT Spaghetti Dinner, Sylvia Baptiste.
Morning. How many here have volunteered or been volunteered, I should say, voluntoed, I guess that's the new word, to do an event that you were not prepared to do? Yeah, anyone who have kids, definitely. Mike, you even were told, I bet. Well, I was sitting one day at the Covenant Church in Gasport with my oldest son, signing him up for Boy Scouts Troop 18. He crossed over from Cubs into Boy Scouts. And that was about 20 years ago. I was thinking about this last night. It's like, wow, where did the time go? And they have 2 major fundraisers. Troop 18 has the Chowder Sale, which is a fall event. Matter of fact, I think that's coming up in October. And then they do a spring event with the spaghetti dinner. Now, some of you here, the Lockportians people, may know a person that I'm going to talk about. And if you talk to him after and say, hey,
Sylvia did a speech on you. He's not going to be very, not pleased. I won't say not pleased, but he's not a person who brags. He's always kind of in the back shadow. But I really feel he needed this recognition. The spaghetti dinner, when Matt started Troop 18, was run by Jay Murata. And he's a neighbor of mine. And he did this for many years. And I won't say it was just Jay. He had his whole family. He had his sisters. He had his wife. He had his father, who was alive at the time, in their kitchen. And they would make the best meatballs and sauce from scratch. It was good. And the meatballs were golf size, no lie. So each meal had a tradition. You had a huge plate of spaghetti. You had 2 meatballs, salad, bread, Italian bread and butter, and dessert. I'll talk a little more about the dessert because that's a fun part for the boys. It was Jell-O. So my husband, this is a Boy Scout thing. It was going to be him and Matt bonding, enjoying, going on camping trips. And I wasn't supposed to be involved too much because I had the younger one who was in Cub Scouts and I was involved with that. So Larry, my husband, would always volunteer to help, even though he worked shift work. So you know who ended up working the events? The one who was supposed to just go there and buy the dinner tickets and eat. It was me. Somehow I always got sucked into, you're running this. So back to the event. So what was it going to happen? Jay Morales left. His youngest son, Michael, made Eagle Scout, passed a torch to whoever would take it at Troop 18, which was my husband. We could do this, he said. We could do this. All right. So what happens? It isn't just making the sauce and the meatballs, the food. It was getting the tickets ready, the advertising, making sure the front door was covered, making sure the boys were working because it was their event, and collecting the money. So there was a lot of things moving. And the troop at that time was about 16, 18 boys. So you had to make sure they were all entwined, all on board. Here again, I thought I was just going to go eat, making sure Matt had his apparel, Boy Scout uniform, looked presentable. No, that didn't happen. So we arranged a small committee of boys and a parent to work some of these stations, I guess you want to call it, to work the front door, to come in the night before to set up for the tables and chairs and the silverware dishes, how they were going to happen. Teaching the older boys, which they knew, they'd been there for a while, how to teach the younger boys to serve correctly. And the cleanup crew, that was always the important part. So like I said, there's many steps. Then you had another small group and a parent, and it was great to get the young new parents because they were starting to get tech savvy. Advertising. The signs started to look really great at the side of the road. They made sure flyers were at every storefront, schools, church bulletins. And then they started with social media, Facebook. Back to the food again. Okay, that was actually what I ran. So that started this week before the event. We made the meatballs and we had to keep Mr. Jay Murata's recipe and the size of the meatballs. It couldn't go any further. But as the years went by, I kind of tweaked things a little to my liking. Instead of people asking for donations of Italian bread,
we had the catering crew here, and I noticed they were getting breadsticks. So I thought that was a good idea. Instead of bread on the tables, we'll just put breadsticks with every meal. It was a big hit. I don't think they're doing it anymore, but it was a big hit for a couple of years. And the nice part of this whole event was getting to know the parents better. Each parent volunteered one way or another. To clean, they didn't mind. To work in the kitchen, to work with the boys, making sure the tickets were sold. Even one of them one year went to Tops on Rochester Road here in Lockport and asked them if we could put half-sheet flyers of the advertising in the bags, and their cashiers did it for us. It was a great way of getting the word out. They always thought a little bit out of the box, which was great. So if you do ever have a chance, and I don't know, I don't see anyone here, unfortunately, but grandkids, get involved because they are young only once. So that was my event experience.
Thank you, Sylvia. At this point, may we please have a timer's report? Mr. Jones?
Yes, Mr. Toastmaster, and I just want to point out, the reason I like AM Lockport is because I learned how to be a Toastmaster and how to run a club. And this morning I did have some challenges as timer. For instance, two of our speakers didn't say, "Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters," which is usually when we start the clock. Dave spoke for about 48 seconds, and then I think he went into his speech, which I timed at 6:58. Jen came in exactly 4 minutes. I was mesmerized by her haircut, so I don't know if she did the greeting or not. And Sylvia did a hello, which I assume was a start, and she came in at 7:33. Mr. Toastmaster.
Very good. So it looks like only Sylvia went long and does not qualify. So I'll ask everyone to cast their vote for Jen or David. The online poll will go up shortly. Who doesn't have an old work jacket cluttering their closet? Right? This is like a bomber or baseball jacket or something like that. Great pockets. It's okay, varsity. That's the term I was looking for. Thank you, David. This is from circa mid-90s when I worked for President's Choice, which was a private label food manufacturer distributor based out of Toronto, but it had a Buffalo office. And I haven't worn this in forever. Why do I keep this? I have no association with them. I do still count some of my former colleagues as friends, but not a reason to clutter up my closet. So I think this one I can part with. As I said, we'll be voting there. And now we'll go into our evaluation portion of the meeting. Our first evaluator this morning, evaluating David Licata, is Les Robinson. Les, give me about 10 seconds to get you on the screen and you can begin your evaluation. Thank you.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Before I get started, can you guys hear me? I've been having a lot of trouble with Zoom today. All right, so let's get started. Dave Licata, this is the second time I have evaluated you in, 2 weeks? Once again, great speech. What I love about Dave is the visualization of when he does the storytelling. I could see Carl, I could see Joe, I could see the family of Dave, and there we go. And basically enjoyed it immensely. When he started talking about the store, I have been in that store since I was about, I don't know, 1, 2, because we used to go to St. John's. Once in a while, my mom would have to stop on the way after St. John's, and how the store has evolved over the years. But I could see Carl talking about this. I could see Joe talking about this, and I could see Dave when he talked about the store, talked about Harrison's. I could visualize this is what I love. Once again, I love about Dave's speech. I could see myself standing in the parking lot, looking at Harrison's, seeing Harrison's, and then the chicken coop popped in my mind, of all things, chicken wings. Dave's store, but how the meaning, how the vocal variety, just how everything was just very flowed. And when you hear Dave's stories, it brings you in to the story and you can feel it. You can feel the excitement. Like I was sitting in my chair and I feel like I was riding down to Syracuse, going to Syracuse. And then when he talked about you just bought a store, I could feel the disappointment in the speech. And that's what I loved. You could feel it. What I would have improved is either brought pictures of the store or your family members in. Otherwise, Dave, this was a great speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Les. Our next evaluator, evaluating Jen Zappa, Mark Campus. Again, give me a second.
Hopefully that's long enough. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Jen. Jen, I want to thank you for your speech this morning. Obviously, a very personal, a very emotional speech for you. Having done it myself, I can't agree with you more. There is no more challenging speech to deliver than a eulogy. It is, and also the most important speech I think any of us can give. You can easily feel a heavy weight of responsibility, and it's such a challenge to strike the right tone and to capture the essence of the person in just a few minutes, and then to deliver it while maintaining your composure and not let the emotions wash over you. Especially compounded by the fact that this project only gave you 3 to 4 minutes to do it. Now, let's talk about the positives that Jen showed today. Jen, you kept that composure, so outstanding job with that. Your personality always shines through as a speaker. When I think of you as a speaker, you'll deliver a line and there'll be a little bit of a wry smile, and you manage to pull that off to even today in the midst of a very somber and emotional speech, as you would share an anecdote, a funny anecdote about your dad. And I just thought that was so impressive. You did a great job with that. I like the eye contact you had with all of us. And I'm not sure if that speech was memorized or if you were looking at any cues or if you had anything written out, but if you did, you pulled it off very well. It was not obvious at all. And most importantly, I thought your closing to the speech was really strong, and your message to all of us was very powerful. How could you be more effective? That's difficult. I thought you were so great today. Perhaps you could be even more effective if you were able to integrate some gestures here or there. Clearly, it's a somber speech, so you're not going to be demonstrative, but maybe weaving in some gestures might have made it a little bit more expressive. The only other thing, maybe a prop. You mentioned some things, that your dad had given you or kept for you, and I think that would have been emotionally powerful as well. But I'm nitpicking. I thought overall you were outstanding today. We share a lot with each other in AM Lockport Toastmasters, and I want to thank you for sharing a lot about your dad this morning, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. My next piece of apparel is the leather jacket, which I've had longer than I care to admit. I've had the pockets and the lining resewn, remade, some of the stitching, and it's still got holes in it that need to be patched or done whatever with. I love this jacket because it just fits me like a glove. It's the most comfortable thing. It's got big saddlebags up here for pockets as well as the side ones. It's got a firm elastic waistband that keeps the air from blowing up there in these cold Buffalo winters. Sorry, I'm not going to part with this one. This will always have a space in my closet. On to our third evaluator this morning, evaluating Celia. We have Steve Smith. Steve, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Now, she come up here today. Her job was to tell us how to manage an event. Well, that was a good topic. You started right out with a question. How many of you have ever been volunteered to do something you're not really prepared to do? Well, I think that fit almost everybody in this room. I know it fits me. Most of us have worked events, everything from just being hired help to actually trying to run the event. We know the satisfaction. We also know the headaches that these things can bring. And she gave us a nice thumbnail sketch of the background of this whole dinner, how she got involved in it, how she wound up actually running the dinner, and how she decided some things should not change, how she was also willing to change some things over time to suit herself. You can't do anything too quick, people will push back. And she knew that. Now she was up here, she used a few hand gestures, which is good. And I think she could have used a few more hand gestures, a little more vocal variety perhaps. And they say, what do you do to challenge yourself? I think, and I think we all should, get out from behind this lectern. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to pop the microphone. Get out from behind the lectern and work in front. You can work the crowd better. And as long as you're on camera, they can see you as well. You gave us a great overview of what all's involved in this, not just the cooking of spaghetti, the tickets, the advertising, collecting money, the cleanup crew, social media advertising. You did something, you didn't really mention it, but it caught my eye. What you let people do, you have all these little jobs that have to be done. Two things, you didn't micromanage it, and you let people do what they were good at and let them run with it. I thought this is all an excellent way to run an event. I thought it was a wonderful speech, and I thank you for bringing it to us today. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Stephen. At this point, Mr. Jones, may we please have a timers report on our evaluators?
Yes, Mr. Toastmasters, all three qualified. Les came in at 159, Mark came in at 240, and Steve at 212. Thank you.
Fantastic. An online poll will be going up shortly. Those in attendance here, please cast your ballot. What I'm sporting right now is a quilted flannel shirt. Okay. Pendleton? Okay. Gotta count on De La Cata. Always know the names of these things. Okay. What's more perfect than this for an afternoon spent raking leaves? Okay. Lightweight, keeps you warm enough. Okay. And those 45, 50-degree days in Western New York, still stylish. Washes easily with your other clothes in the washing machine. Again, this will always have a place. Can't argue with that. At this point, I am going to turn things over to our general evaluator today to evaluate me, the evaluators, and the meeting in general. And that would be Tracy. Again, give me about 5 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I have to say, nowhere else but in Toastmasters can you learn about public speaking and get a fashion show in the same. I loved watching every single one of your new coats come up every single break. I have to say, Len, you have more coats than any female that I know. I think you're a clothes hoarder, but we'll see. I also have to compliment you. You had a very difficult job. Being the Toastmaster is always a complicated job, trying to get everybody lined up and on time and keeping the meeting running on time. But then you had the added responsibility of being our video production manager for our meeting. There's a lot going on there. probably, you did a fantastic job, but I would think it's too much for one person. I know we had no choice today to do that. We did a great job in table topics. I thought that they were all very interesting. As far as our evaluators, they all did a fantastic job. They started off and really complimented our speakers. Les pointed out, one thing I have to point out, Les pointed out how well Dave Licata can set the scene just with his words and how he set the scene in his speech. Mark did a great job. I know it was a very difficult speech for Jen, but he pointed out the positives. He complimented her on her posture during the speech. And Steve Smith did a really good job too. So I think all of them, our evaluators, did the sandwich approach. They gave some type of improvement and ended on a positive note. So we're doing a fantastic job. I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Toastmaster, unless you want me to go on with the reports.
Please call the reports.
I can do that. That will make it a little bit easier for you. First of all, I am going to call upon our word master. I'm not going to call on our word master. I'm going to call on Mike Florio as our master and grammarian.
Madam General Evaluator, thank you. Well, I did my best. I have my scorecard here. And I listened very intently. And I have to say, as a club, we are doing very well when it comes to ahs, ums, pregnant pauses, and others. I heard Nancy Ferry, a couple ahs, Les, 2 ahs, Dave Jones an ah, and Tracy, you snuck in an ah there. No, I was so quiet that I barely heard it. Les had 1. Tracy, you did have a I noticed a couple people used so quite a bit as their filler instead of the ah and or and. So that's something. Yeah, I used it myself, that we have to kind of watch out for. And then on the grammarian side of things, I was concentrating more on the ahs and the ums. All I heard of a couple of things that I really liked were David's luck when preparation meets opportunity. I really agree with that statement. You have to be ready. And if you are, there's no such thing as luck. And let's see what else. Sylvia's voluntoed. That was the first time I heard that phrase or that word. And I like that. You're sucked in, basically, into volunteering. That's my report, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mike. Next, we'll go to our quiz master. Is Nancy Rose there?
Thank you. Okay, so for the quiz today, and by the way, that was a great fashion show. So to start is, what is the big trend that they're putting in wedding dresses? According to Les, very good.
Pockets.
What color is Dave Jones apparel today?
Green.
How many t-shirts does Mike Florio have? Who has a Mr. Rogers routine? What is Nancy Ferry's favorite season? What collection does Margot have? Mhm. And if you are listening to Mike Florio, you have a clue. According to Dave Licata, luck is when preparation meets what? Scholarship or opportunity? Opportunity. In Sylvia's speech, the size of the meatballs were the size of what? And lastly, what did Jen's dad put in her scrapbook?
Her signatures.
Signature. Yeah, thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Nancy. And our final report will come from Mike Latacada. Mike, can you tell us how the word apparel went for the day?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. The word tailed off at the end of the meeting like it usually does. I know Sylvia used it once. I think that's all I caught. So if everyone wants to use the word apparel this morning, we'll all get credit for it. So say the word apparel. Thank you very much. Everyone use the word Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mike. I think that's all the reports that we have for the day. I'm hoping that Les will come up with a new jacket. He doesn't fail. And I'll turn it back to our Toastmaster, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Tracy. The final one you'll see, not the final one I brought today, is one I keep for sentimental reasons. It's a very lightweight leather jacket, like the last one you saw, and it says Savannah Club on it, which is where my parents lived. This was left to me after my father passed away 6 years ago. So I wear it in remembrance of him. It's very comfortable. I wear this a lot. Again, it's got a permanent place. I have at least 25 jackets in my closet that I've collected over the years. Some from former employers, some have sentimental things. Now, this doesn't count hoodies at all. Couple formal coats, for important events, a long wool jacket and trench coats and so on. They all have a place for some reason. And usually it's different than any other jacket's place. So it's going to be tough. I'm going to try and pair at least 5 or 6 out of there. And I'll let you know how I do. As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, further themes for speeches or Toastmasters will be t-shirts. I think we can all sympathize with that, but I have a strategy. And I'll go into socks. There's a prescribed number of blue jeans that we should have. 7. This is about the most anybody would ever need, okay? I guess it depends on what field of work you're in and if it's work apparel or so on. At this point, I will call up our president to help us close out the meeting and announce the winners. Gerald.
Since Len has lots of jackets, I had to bring my jacket up just for fun, because that took me 10 years to find this jacket. I looked forever, so I can sympathize with that. I will wear this until it falls apart. I will take it to get repairs. So we will be on this. We are definitely on the same page with that. So good job, Lenny. Any other announcements before I start doing a bunch of different things here? Eric, do you have an announcement? Any announcements? Steve has one. We'll have Steve come up as well.
I'd like to remind everybody, this Saturday night is the last star show of the year at Kruger Park in Wilson. Around 7:30 or so, it'll be dark enough to start looking at things. Jupiter has just made its closest appearance in about 60 years. So if you haven't got out there, what's wrong with you? Get out there. It's your last chance this year.
Opportunity is knocking.
Last night was the Jupiter or Saturn that was hanging around the moon?
Jupiter.
Jupiter was hanging around the moon last Saturday and still in quite a view. So definitely join Steve if you can. Just a reminder for those that joined late, next week we are completely online.
Oh, I can't be here.
Our speakers are Les Robinson, alternate speaker Mark Campos. The Toastmaster is supposed to be Phil Russell, so that'll be me. I'll be Toastmaster. So I'll take his place because he is out for a little bit. Who else do we have for speakers? We have Beth Banks. We'll have to contact her, and our UB student Jason. So we'll have to reach out to him as well, make sure that they're in the loop. So those are the speakers. We are going to have an open house on the 10th. Our VP of membership has decided we're going to do that. So more to come on that. So we'll be promoting. Always Talk Toastmasters, certainly. Let's announce our winners today. Our best table topics, drum rolls. I need some drum rolls. Margot Bittner. She's had so much practice the last 5 weeks that she is. Good job, Margot.
Last week was by default, at least this week.
Win is a win. That's absolutely right. Our best evaluator, Mark Campos. Congratulations. And our best speaker, Jen Zappa, online. I do not have a theme, but I will come up with one. And it's not going to be t-shirts. Someone else can have that one. Maybe Mike Florio will do that one. That's a good one for him. And let's pick our split club winner today. So our best speaker is online. The number is 345-536. 536. Sylvia won. Woo! Congratulations, Sylvia. Any other announcements? Okay, we're going to finish our meeting a little early today, and we'll look forward to the next one. Y'all have a great day.